in the Kibaki II administration, as you share your message of condolence. Just describe the kind of gentleman that we are talking about. Many younger Kenyans who are watching us may not even know who Dalmas Otieno is.
Thank you, Fred. I wish to take this opportunity to pass my condolences to the family, friends, and the community that Dalmas represented, the late Dalmas represented, plus the entire nation of Kenya. He was a national figure. He worked as a minister from very early age, I think from 1988. So I believe that he became a good friend of mine, but maybe partly because we both went to Makerere University. He was definitely in Makerere University much earlier than I was. In fact, I was still in primary school when he went to the university. And in 1988, we were both elected to Parliament through that infamous Mlolongo process that, and he quickly became a favorite of the late President Moi because he stood as an independent person and stood a very stalwart Kenyan KANU member and really stood his ground many times when there was political shakeup. And so, and coming from Rongo, that idea that he carried the entire Nyanza province. And many times, if you listen to people eulogizing him, you'll realize they come from all over Nyanza because he represented the entire Nyanza. So a very witty, very brilliant gentleman, very professional and strict, even in Parliament. Dalmas could not be shaken or just, he was not the kind of person to be swayed. He went where he believed, that he chose exactly the side which he believed in. So as a gentleman that we lose Kenya, still very, very strong. We just say that death has robbed this country of a very resourceful person. And let me just say rest in peace, my friend Dalmas, and wish the family God's strength and God's grace during this hour. Right. And of course, I want to wish the president and the country, pass my condolences to the country. That this gentleman had just been holding a very important role in a very important commission in the government, and therefore I just want to say to that members of that commission and also the government entirely and our parliament, houses of parliament, we have lost a colleague. Thank you.
All right. But Meshach, even as you share your message of condolences to the family, many people are talking about his checkered politics, especially when it came to politics of Luo Nyanza, that he did not necessarily conform, and this was from early on. And many people may not understand how such a person may have survived politics of Luo Nyanza without conforming to the political fathers of that area.
Yeah, thank you. Allow me to first give my condolences to the family, the inner family of Dalmas, the late CS, and many might not know, when I first knew what a member of parliament is, Dalmas Otieno was my member of parliament. That was then Rongo, which now has been divided into two, Rongo and Awendo. But it was the larger Rongo, and Dalmas was the member of parliament when I first knew what a member of parliament is and what a leader is. So some of us are people who grew up knowing the first member of parliament I ever knew was Dalmas Otieno, and Rongo was larger Rongo before it was divided. And those are some of the people we looked at. That time, Fred, seeing a member of parliament was not a joke. Like, it wasn't something of a day-to-day like now. They are very much seen because everything was centralized and they were in Nairobi and you are in the village. And so when a member of parliament comes, it is once in a while, and it is a big thing, and you're a child, so you don't even get closer. Maybe your father or people who matter. So we, the people of Rongo, and now the larger Migori County, and by extension, the whole country, we mourn the passing of Dalmas. It was not expected because as a nature of a human being, most time we probably might expect if we hear that somebody is sick, hospitalized, going through some, but Dalmas was not in that category, so it was really a shock to all of us. Coming to your question or comment, people say Dalmas did not budge to the pressure, political pressure, or the wave that was then. What I know is Dalmas was elected in 88, like Honorable Poghisio has said, but history tells us I was very young. I think 88, I must have been 8 years old. I didn't know much. But history is written, and they say it was Mulolongo, and Honorable Poghisio here can confirm. So in Mulolongo, I really can't tell, because if I imagine what Mulolongo election was like, I really can't tell. But yes, Moi was in power, he was on the side of Moi, Jaramogi and team were opposition. So that is something anybody was able to do. The only difficult decision was to be on the side of Moi after that election, and your people are on the opposite side. That is the only decision that was not easy for anyone to make, any man or woman to make. Subsequently, I think he went to parliament again in 1997.
Yeah.
And then, because there was Aluoch Polo who was related to him, and they were coming from the same village. And so after that, Aluoch Polo went in 1992, and then he came back to elective politics in 19. But meanwhile, when Aluoch Polo was given the seat by the people, he was nominated by KANU. So he was still in parliament anyway, and he was actually given the minister. I think for me, the first time now I knew him as a minister was now Minister for Transport, that election between 1992 to 1997. And then he's been in the political, either as nominated or as an elected. He was even elected together with Raila Amolo Odinga in ODM. He was able to beat Ochila Yako around that time. So he's a man who has been in this politics. So what we are losing is the kind of memory people like Dalmas would give us. Because when we want to forge ahead, sometimes it is necessary to have things in black and white by people who are there. And that is why we cherish people like Honorable Poghisio, because some of us are just having the history as written, but again, it is more powerful when you hear somebody talk about it, people who are there. When you hear somebody talk about the cabinet paper and he was in that cabinet, it makes a lot of sense to us. Right. So we are really condoling with the family and the larger Migori County.
All right.
Yes.
Allow me to welcome to the panel Wakili Ishmael Nyaribo. Wakili, karibu sana. And you found us in this moment when we are just paying tribute to this
Dalmas Otieno.
Dalmas Otieno, a former cabinet minister and also MP of Rongo County, Rongo constituency, and it's your opportunity to do the same as well.
Yeah, you know, you noticed I was smiling all through when Meshach is paying his tribute. It makes me feel very old because he says it was 8 years in 1988. So yeah, you know, we are losing that category of people who actually had had amassed quite a bit of power. If you look at Dalmas Otieno, at that time, I was already in high school. And he could come. I was in a school neighboring his constituency, a school in the suburbs of Kisii, Nduru for that matter. And whenever he came, you know, leave alone if he's coming for public functions, whenever he just visited his home, the whole area could actually know that the MP is around or the minister has come to this place. It's quite a contrast in today's world. You don't see cabinet
And that's a different thing.
secretaries.
The cabinet ministers under Moi was something else. They had a totally different kind of image back then.
Yeah, and both good and bad. Good in the sense that they wielded power, which any person in public office needs to wield, not through coercion or arrogance, but that oomph you work with as a public service was actually great and important, and it attracted quite a bit in terms of development of the area, people listening to you and probably buying your ideas. You know, it's not just a question of somebody's in office. So, yeah, I don't know so much about Dalmas, but if you look, I saw his family members addressing the media, and I saw he has such a great family. I mean, there's, you know, a son there was speaking to the media, and that speaks quite into what kind of leadership you want as a nation. I mean, family is very important and it comes first, and it supports probably, you know, the nation. It supports public service. So families are very important. So it's not good for people to come to public office but neglect or ignore, you know, the family. And I could see that Dalmas' son, quite, you know, a mature person and talking to the screen. It reminds me that much more than anything else we do out here, family is very, very important.
Right. Bwana Poghisio, I'd love to come back to you, especially on issues to do with politics, because you served with him in the cabinet at a time when he was still not very comfortable with the powers or the most influential political figures in Nyanza. And I don't know how that worked for him, because he appears, and I think it's a standard that has captured this, that he did not start this defiance just the other day. It is something that he lived with through and through. How did that work, especially under the Grand Coalition government, where Raila Odinga was a co-principal? Yes, he may have been in ODM, but he was among those few people who did not necessarily become sycophantic.
Fred, that's what I say about the late Dalmas. He was a man of his own. Remember, he went against the Jaramogi Oginga in 1988. He was, but that time he was supported, of course, by people like Oyugi and so on, who had the muscle in government, and he won, okay? So he won the election, and then later on, when he was removed or he lost the election, nominated by Kanu again. That's how important it was. That he was nominated by Kanu, stood there. In 1997, he became very, very famous because he co-chaired what we used to call IPPG, which was the process that transitioned us to a new constitutional order. So he is very important at that particular point. He then stood his ground again. You know, that time even Kanu wasn't ready for changing of the constitution, but for him to present himself, to co-chair that, to move it forward, means also he had also started thinking more of the future of the country. And he stood firm, and IPPG sorted out the issue that was very big, that problem that time. Whenever you see Dalmas has, whatever ministry Dalmas was in, if you look at it, look at all the ministries he was in, he produced something for the country that led. One of the things that that when he was in the revenue, it was the Salaries Commission.
Yes, SRC.
SRC, and people attribute this retirement age to mass. I'm sorry, today I have a voice problem. But the thing about it is that he is a very jolly guy. I mean, he was a jolly guy. He's a very happy, serious guy. When it comes to work, very happy, and he gives you energy. He's very energetic. And we became great friends, partly because we kind of stood almost the same ground together. You know, while he was ahead, he would help a lot of people, and so that when he was not, look at the way he did. He could switch sides very easily. You know, there was a time then he became very ODM. Remember, he joined with Raila, and then even there he became very uncomfortable because he did not want anybody to tell him that we must all go this way for the sake of it. So this is the kind of gentleman that we now mourn. We mourn a man who stood very firm for the people. He was always on the Kenyan, on the people's side. And like I said, I mean, he must have been very, very brilliant guy in school. Because look at the schools he went to. He didn't go to any of these national schools, but then managed to go to the university and did all that he did. I don't know his background. He's older than me by far. And as I said, when I went to Makerere, his record had been there. It's one of the people you could tell from those days. And I'm talking about, what, 10 years later, more than 10 years later. So I do believe that we became friends because we entered Mlolongo together. I didn't last there. 1988, he entered, he was a minister. That's when I was expelled from the party and I left. And when we came back in 97, we found ourselves together. And we have then worked since together many times in cabinet. He was a voice of reason in the cabinet. You could tell that because he would, the president would refer many times to what was happening in his docket and so on and so on. And he presented very strong policies in those sides. He was one of those people you could go to if you needed. Some of us were in cabinet for the first time, and the people that we would look to ask questions, to learn from, was one of them. And strictly speaking, I would say we've lost a quality or caliber of leaders that is not very easy now to replace, to find. I mean, anybody now, there's so much psychophancy now that leaders just are yes, yes, yes. And that's not going to be, there's not much to yearn for anymore in terms of looking towards a strong person who can stand his ground. Again, it's such a force, that a political force. And the good thing about it, and this is something that we shared, is it doesn't matter. I mean, if you lose your seat, you lose it for a good reason. And if you lose it for a good reason with the people in mind, you will come back. And that's what he believed, and it's the same thing that I do believe, that you just have to stand strong, stand with the people. And that's what cost my job. You know, even when I was younger, when I joined politics, and I stood with the Pokot people, I see nowadays it's become very easy to marginalize groups like the Pokot. Just marginalize them. And you know how you marginalize them? It's so easy to do so now. I don't know why. But that's because we lack the strong leaders of the caliber of Dalmas. Dalmas could not allow that to happen. Yeah.
And if we may draw parallels with what's happening in ODM right now currently, even as we head closer to the by-elections, there's a debate about the independence of even the processes, the free and fair nomination of probably the person to run for the seat in Kasipul, because that's a big debate. And many people are looking at it, even within ODM, and talking about the democracy within ODM. And probably this kind of thinking by the likes of Dalmas Otieno, he had already seen the kind of constraints that a party like ODM would have. Now that we are talking about him now, do you think this is in any way could serve the progression of ODM into a probably more democratic space, or probably assist other elements to pursue independence away from a party like ODM in Luo Nyanza?
Thank you, Fred. You know, most of the time, I would say that democracy was not a thing for Africa. Allow me to just say that. We just adopted this thing from somewhere, and we so much believe in it, but the end game sometimes don't serve the interest of the people of a nation. It serves the interest of the people who wield those powers. I look at what is happening in parties like ODM, and it is not just ODM, it is happening everywhere, everywhere. You realize that when Meshach differs with Wakili Ishmael on certain issues, and if Meshach was the leader of that party, Ishmael is seen as a more democratic person, and Meshach is seen like someone who is a dictator. And if we switch positions, then it is opposite. Meshach is now a more democratic person, the other person is more of a dictator. Look at what is happening right now with ODM as a party, you find the Secretary General says this is a democratic party, and so BABA has also confirmed that this is, ODM is democratic. People can say what they want. The only part of democracy that now nobody wants to talk about is the principle where majority have their way, minority have their say. Because Secretary General now say, when it comes to this, I will not. It means he's not ready for the other side of democracy, where majority decides that as ODM we are going this way. He says, for that I will not do. But for me, speaking my mind, I will. That part of democracy he enjoys. So that's why I'm saying, and it is happening in every other party. That's why I'm saying we adopted democracy from the West, but we were not really ready for it because we didn't know why the West came up with this thing called democracy and sold to us. Okay. So if you go to other parties, you realize right now the people who are supporting Bwana Rigiji, they are not willing to let UDA go, but they are also opposing UDA everywhere. Right. But we still want to call that democracy. So that's what takes me to imagining, was democracy really a thing for us? The people who came up with it might have had their reason, but we just jumped into it and we are running with it not knowing where we are going to end.
Meshach,
let me just...
Allow us to take a break.
Meshach is bringing a very... You see, he's saying we don't need democracy. We need a rebut on that.
We'll come back and I'll definitely...
So we balance, you know.
I do agree that whatever you said can be a bit controversial.
30 seconds. Luckily, we need democracy, but we need to define our democracy that works for us.
All right.
Not the one that we were given. And
Fair enough. Fair enough.
This discussion, we're having it as we look at the life and times of Dalmas Otieno Anyango, who was born on April 19th, 1945, and died yesterday at the age of 80.
It will be great to say, as a man coming from Rongo, the larger Rongo, Dalmas left us with Kangeso High School, which was, he did single-handedly when CDF was not there yet. And Dalmas leaves us with Rongo University, which he was really a key figure. Of course, it came from Kitere, which was a technical, but he was a key figure in negotiating so that it becomes the now Rongo University that we have.
All right. Dalmas Otieno served as cabinet minister under Daniel Arap Moi, I think in 3 different dockets, and later on as Minister for Public Service under Kibaki under his second administration. And even as we go on a break, just take a look at other sentiments coming from our viewers who are sending us messages. Galad Sono Buamu says, Dalmas was one of the politicians who knew what took him to public service sector, very calm and calculated. He served his term and went to enjoy the retirement without disturbing or abusing anyone. Our leaders have a lot to learn from him. RIP, sir, till we meet again. Benjamin Mutisia, good morning, Morning Cafe. May the soul of Dalmas Otieno rest in eternal peace. Heavens take the best for reasons known by him who made us. Yes. Rest in peace, Dalmas Otieno, and we'll continue covering as preparations for his burial continue. Let us take a break. When we come back, we'll continue with his conversations. You're watching Cafe.
Kids and families, get ready for the most fun-packed show around, Kids on the Block. Join us for awesome music, magical storytime adventures, and super cool arts and crafts. Plus, we pop tasty treats in our cooking corner. Learn, laugh, and create with us. Kids on the Block, where every day is a brand new adventure. Don't miss it.
Rise and shine with the ultimate morning power play from Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Join Fred Indemuli.
Time for us to take a look at the headlines this morning
as he takes you straight to the heart of the nation on Morning Cafe. From breaking down political intrigues to unpacking the stories shaping our country, this is where tough questions meet hard truths.
The president says he has cancelled, then they say, Igwe.
Stay ahead stay informed, and stay connected. It's your go-to morning fix on politics, policy, and the pulse of the nation.
Raila Odinga has put Kenya's interests first for many times.
The State of the Nation with Fred Indimuli, Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. only on TV 47. Your morning, your nation, your voice.
Business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming. Richard Branson.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Omer every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV 47. Full body workouts, zero equipment.
All right, welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47 with me, Fred Indimuli. We continue looking at the big discussions coming from the weekend and into this week. One of those discussions is about the LSK chairperson. And the Media Council of Kenya yesterday condemned what it termed as unwarranted and unjustified media attacks against the Law Society of Kenya President Faith Odhiambo. And other Kenyans appointed to the presidential panel of experts on compensation of victims of protests and riots. One of the headlines yesterday, I think it was a Standard, read "Losing Faith," and the people who argue that probably it was a bit unfair. It is part of the stories covered here at TV 47. Let's watch that story and then come back.